So click got it. All right, and we are live. Okay, take it away, Jason.
Thank you, Carolyn. Welcome, everybody. I first off want to apologize. We're running about 15 minutes late. We have a bit of some tech issues today, and we're all kind of gathered up here together. So just bear with us. We're also working remotely because we're doing some renovations, finishing off a few little renovations in the council chambers. So hopefully by next week, we're back to normal. So we do apologize for this. Anyway, getting going, I would like to call to order the Fire, Recreation and Community Services meeting for Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. And I'll do the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Can I have roll call, please, Deputy Clerk?
Okay, so Chair LaGree.
Present.
Councillor Andrew Dick.
Present.
Councillor McDonald.
Present.
Mayor Sidney.
Present.
Chair LaGree, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Is there any declarations of interest? All right, seeing none, we'll move down to presentations, delegations, and announcements. Does anybody have any announcements? Okay, seeing none, we'll move down to section C.1, Community Risk Assessment, Fire Master Plan, and Fire Hall Condition Assessment Introduction. I'll hand it over to Chief Guest to introduce the group. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yes, Mike,
Yes,
we can hear you.
Mike.
Perfect. So with us today, I'd like to thank the Lumex group for attending the meeting, just to give us some information and some background on the foregoing master fire plan and the community risk assessment. So we have a presentation today from the Lumex group. I will let Terry do the introductions. If Terry can go ahead with their presentation, that'd be great.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Chair and Council, for allowing us just a few minutes out of your day, your busy schedule, to just talk a little bit about the community risk assessment, the fire master plan, and the fire hall condition assessment report. So the next slide, please. Thank you. So just a little bit about the Lumex Group. Are based out of the city of Peterborough. We have three fairly distinct groups within the Lumex Group. We do have two other companies that are more into the aviation side. So we are in the aviation and aerospace industry. We manage airports across Canada, as well as do a lot of emergency management work for airports and compliance work. We have a small infrastructure and construction group that are mainly based between the Kingston and Peterborough area, just do light construction projects. A lot of it is because of the equipment that we have for our airports that sits a lot through the summertime. This allows us to utilize it through the summer. And in the government services department, that's the group that I look after. And this group does similar to what we're here to present today, but we also do a lot of training. We do a lot of emergency management for municipalities right across the country, but are prominently in the province of Ontario. Next slide, please. So I'm the project advisor. My name is Terry Gervais. I'm the vice president of the government services. I spent my around 36 years, my career in the municipal world, in the fire services, and have actually some close ties to Renfrew County, and from my family, as some of you may recognize the last name. Also on this project is Bill Lormer, who's the project lead, who's sitting with the chief today, and Mike Villeneuve, who is one of our fire and life safety specialists. They're actually in your town today and tomorrow, starting to do some of the background information going for this project. Both Mike and Bill have extensive careers in the fire services. Mike is a current retired chief, and Bill's a current platoon chief for a municipality. Chris McDonough is one of our fire and life safety specialists. Brings a strong fire prevention background and community risk assessment background to our department. Chris, again, has spent his whole career in the municipal world as a senior leader. Jerry Pingatori and Chris Burke both live very close to your municipality. They're both in the city of Ottawa. Again, between Chris and Jerry, they have over 75 years experience. Jerry has finished as fire chief with the city of Ottawa, and Chris was a assistant deputy. So one of the unique things about this group is why they all have long-standing careers. They also have worked in both volunteer, career, and composite settings. So it makes this team that we pulled together for this makes it kind of applicable for your type of community with being a composite fire services, as well as they all have senior management experience in the municipal world. So it does bring again, very applicable for your community. Next slide, please. So the community risk assessment, so it came into regulation in July 1st of 2019. And what basically the regulation said is that by July 1st, 2024, all fire departments must conduct a community risk assessment. And prior to this regulation, the departments had to create the simplified risk assessment. What this community risk assessment, it goes more in depth, and it really does kind of it provides a better picture for council and for the community on what the risks are. Each municipality makes their own evidence-based decisions based on the risks, based on your unique needs and circumstances. The good thing about this community risk assessment, it's not comparing you with other communities. It truly is based on your needs and circumstances and the risks for your community. And as you know, and we thank you for this, the town has retained us to do your community risk assessment. Next slide, please. So the regulation that's been set out was designed by the province of Ontario, by the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office, and it really has 9 different mandatory profiles. So those profiles, you can see them on the screen there. So it looks at all these profiles very in depth of how they affect your community and what the risks are to your community, and then they're graded. So, you know, we will talk a little bit about the grading system, but there's a grading system that goes along with it. The other thing that happens is there's a large matrix that is been designed by the province. It's a very good matrix. It does a really good job of really prioritizing your risks based on these kind of 9 profiles and based on a number of other profiles like life safety and that kind of idea. So, you know, it's a great tool. One of the things, and even when I was a senior official in the fire service, you know, we surmised what our risks were for our community, but what this do, it's really going to be able to quantify what your risks are, and it will help you, you know, plan for the future. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here's our approach. We put the team together, and you've met the majority of the team, and there is some other people in behind the scenes that will work. You know, if we see something that needs another expert to come in, and we have a whole quality assurance group behind us. So we have that team together. Data review, especially the community risk assessment. We've already started asking the chief to compile a lot of data for us, because you're really setting your risks based on the data that you've had. So we're going to look at your last 5 or 6 or 7 years, whatever the case might be, and we're going to really review that data and see where you're at as a municipality based on the risk. Engagement, obviously the fire chief's a huge engagement in this part of it, the department staff and municipal staff, because we're going to be looking at building stock, for example. in the community risk assessment. So we want to know what building stock you have in your community, residential compared to mercantile or industrial or multi-use facilities. So that's going to be really important to kind of engage the other municipal staff as well too. Once we get all that information then we start plotting it into these matrices. And out of these matrices, we start looking at kind of where they're going to score, where these kind of risks are going to score along. And then the development of the CRA, which we'll get to a draft stage, which we'll then provide to the chief for the review. Next slide, please. So the definition of risks, basically it's defined as a measure of probability and consequence that could affect your community. So, we might say that, weather event happens every single year, but the consequence maybe isn't as high, or it might be in reverse. You have Highway 17 going through your community. You might have a large hazardous material that has a high consequence, but has a very low probability. So that the scoring matrix all takes this into account. One of the things that's really important for council to understand is that the community risk assessment is identifying fire and life safety risks. So unlike your emergency management plan, where you do your hazardous identification risk assessment, it's different from that. So one of the things that we really work with the chief and work with councils to understand is the risk we're looking at is how it affects the fire service. So, yes, flooding might be big in an emergency response plan, but for the fire service, it doesn't affect the fire service as much. So that's one of the things to consider when we get towards the draft or the final document. Once you have these risks determined, then the fire departments can base their decisions on the probability of any given risk occurring and the potential impact of the community. And that's where you can start building your plans. And that's where that leads into the fire master plan. Next slide, please. Here's a snapshot of the probability and the consequence levels. So again, the Lumix group doesn't go away and say, well, we think your community has a risk of this and a consequence of that. It's a very scripted set from the fire marshal's office. So whether it's rare or unlikely, or possible, likely, almost certain, insignificant, minor, moderate, major, or catastrophic. So we work with the chief on these. We kind of do the scoring, then we review with him to make sure that he's comfortable and that he kind of agrees. We have discussion, open dialogue. While this did occur a lot in the last couple of years, but that hasn't occurred a lot in the last few years. So that's where it gets back to our data, where it's really important that we get good data from the department. Next slide, please. This kind of shows one of the charts that you'll see in the community risk assessment. So as you can see, if it was a rare likelihood and an insignificant consequence, then it's low risk. However, if it's catastrophic and almost certain to happen every year, then it's a high risk. And so the matrix kind of takes you right from the low risk to a moderate risk to a high risk. Next slide, please. So then what do we do with that? So we take all the risks, we determine the risk we in your community, we work with the chief, we kind of set those based on the scoring. Then we develop some risk treatment plans. So we say, okay, this is a high risk, this is what the risk is. How can we mitigate that risk, or possibly mitigate that risk? Or can we accept it, or do we share it? So we develop these risk treatment plans. The risk treatment plans that we create will be evidence-based. So it clearly defines the problems posed for any given risk. It'll consider potential outcomes of proposed actions, assessing options, and provide recommendations for addressing the risk or the identified risk. And the recommendations and strategies given in the risk treatment plan may include training, service delivery agreements, resource allocation, or service level changes. Next slide, please. So one of the things that I do have to give, applaud both council for supporting the chief and the chief for moving in this direction. By doing both of these documents at the same time, you have to do the community risk assessment by 2024 next year. But if you did your fire master plan first and then did your community risk assessment, then you might say, okay, I got to redo the fire master plan because the risks aren't showing what I thought they were. So I applaud the chief for moving this ahead and doing these two documents jointly as you move forward. So one of the things we'll do with the risk assessment is help dovetail it into the fire master plan. And so when we're dealing with the fire master plan, we'll always have those risks and the needs and circumstances of your community, as we're writing your document. The purposes of the fire master plan is we want to make sure you're compliant with the Act, the Fire Protection and Prevention Act, and any other applicable legislation like the Health and Safety Act, the Highway Traffic Act, whatever it might be. We'll provide recommendations on the appropriate levels of public education, code enforcement, and fire suppression. It does also allow staff to provide counsel with necessary information so they can make decisions that will protect lives and property, and will provide a clear picture of current and future needs of the community for the emergency services. Next slide, please. It'll provide counsel and the fire chief with a vision so that they can provide, you can provide proper budgeting, and implementation can be provided that mitigates the chances of surprises for municipalities. As council and the chief, there's nothing worse than all of a sudden this large financial surprise. So it does help provide a strategic vision for the municipality and the department, and help maybe with the budgeting process as you move forward to be able to plan out for the recommendations. It'll also ensure that the resources available are used in the most cost-effective and efficient way. And we also like to say that we look at cost avoidance as well too. So how can we avoid costs as we move forward, or as the service moves forward? Next slide, please. This is the framework or the table of contents of a fire master plan. It not necessarily will be what the final document will look like. This is our starting base. And we've kind of, some things might merge together, or we might add some things along the way as we start kind of reviewing your community and based on your risks as well. So as you can see across that, I mean, we're going to look at everything from your legislative requirements, your organizational structure. Of course, public education and code enforcement is so important. In today's fire service, the community risk assessment will look at training, as everybody is aware about the new certification regulations that are out for training. So we'll look at that. Life cycle programs, asset management programs. We'll look at budgeting, your response, and any agreements that you have. We'll touch on emergency management. And we'll look at the fleet, any specialized rescue services that you provide, water supply. And in your RFP, you've asked for a fire hall condition assessment. So we've engaged an engineering firm to come in and do a fire hall condition assessment for your fire hall. That should be able to give you a good vision for now and for the future of your existing fire hall. Next slide, please. So one of the things about doing fire master plan, there is a few more, there's some writing missing on some of that. No, go back, Carolyn. Yeah, there's just some writing missing on that. So I can go through it. So the fire master plan, the stakeholders. So one of the really key things that we believe in is that we don't do this in isolation. We just don't take your data and say, we sit around the room and say, this is what we're going to do. This is what Renfrew should do. We really want to engage with staff. So, we have the staff, both municipal staff and the fire staff, of course. Any municipal partners, internal or external, businesses, residents, council, of course, have a big role to play in the fire master plan. And the firefighters and the Renfrew Professional Firefighters Association executive as well. Next slide, please. One of the things we will do is we will be conducting the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat analysis with the firefighters and the fire service. There'll be a number of ways to do it. We're going to be facilitating some one-on-one sessions, some group sessions. We'll facilitate any one-on-ones that anybody's interested in, and we'll also give out surveys to the staff. So if somebody can't make the night of the face-to-face, they can certainly give their input with the surveys. Your chief and his department will be kind of kept, all along the way in the process. There's a regular regular inputting stage that we provide in our project timelines. The CAO, any of the key municipal staff, or anybody that the chief thinks that we need to be in contact with, we'll certainly do that as well too. So last slide. So Chair, that is kind of our short presentation. We will have a couple other opportunities to hopefully be in front of the standing committee or council, but certainly we'll take any questions that anybody would have.
Thank you very much, Terry. It's a good presentation, and I'm looking forward to the report coming back. So anybody have any questions? Nope. Seeing none. All right. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
You too. All right, moving down to C.2, Parks and Recreation Monthly Update, and I'll hand it over to Director Wall for this.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick update on what's happening in Parks and Recreation over the past couple months. So staffing, Mattaway, spring and summer amenities, and then current and upcoming projects. Wait till Carolyn gets it up on the screen.
Sorry, it's coming. Just one sec. Nope, that's not it. Okay. There it is. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the right one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, you can go to the next slide now. Perfect. So staffing, some of our term staff are done for the season. Randy Pender, Donnie Logan, and Rob Perry are all done end of May. Randy and Donnie are currently done right now, and Rob's got another couple weeks, and then they're off for a few months, and they'll come back when the ice schedule gets back in. Our other term, Ben Clemmer, took another job doing his millwright apprenticeship, so he was done 2 weeks ago as well, unfortunately. And then May 8th, this week, we had the 4 summer students start. They're busy getting trained, cutting grass, helping some renovations over at Town Hall, moving desks, kind of the odds and ends, and getting used to what the Parks and Rec environment does. So they're fitting in well. Nick Crozier, Carter Grease, Adam McQuaig, and Simon Rose are the 4 summer students. Out at Mattaway, it's transitioned now into the spring and summer rentals. Ice was taken out on May 1st, so the plant went off on the Sunday. The guys started taking out the Monday, and it was completely out by Tuesday morning. And then we transitioned on the Wednesday and had it ready for the MyFM home show on that Thursday. They moved in, and then that weekend, everybody was in on the slab. So it's a quick transition, but staff are pretty efficient at it now and move in from ice season to spring and summer pretty quickly. And now we had the circus this past weekend on Sunday. We had a quilt show coming up. There's summer day camp in July and August that happens there. There'll be weddings, receptions, and also there's ball hockey on Tuesday and Wednesday nights out at Mattaway. Some of the spring and summer amenities in the parks. With the nice weather upon us, staff have been busy getting various parks, soccer fields, ball diamonds, and amenities ready for spring and summer, used for residents and visitors. Minor ball and minor soccer and adult mixed slow pitch has started last week, so it's a very busy spot out of Mattaway right now, especially with the expansion. There's limited parking on that side, so there's cars kind of everywhere and lots of people everywhere, which is good to see. Everybody out and using the space. Ty, Rushlow, and Sealy have all been maintained, ready to go, same as the soccer fields. They're all line painted. High schools have had several tournaments already, and as I mentioned, soccer's started in full force. All the water at Mattaway has been turned on. The Cowley's washroom, Rotary washroom are open for the season for the public to use. As well, the community garden water is on, and the museum will be open very shortly. Splash pad scheduled probably to open up end of this week. Just the nights haven't been as warm as we'd like, so we're kind of holding off. So hopefully I'd like to have it open for the long weekend. That's our goal this week. The Brentford Courts, which is the tennis and pickleball, they open up on May 1st. It's a busy spot. The tennis leagues have started. Pickleball is picked up this year, more memberships, which is good to see. They're interested in also starting up their own leagues as well. So it's good to see that that's been been very successful so far. Last week obviously was fairly wet, so they're into full force again. And the staff have headed out to cut, trim, and clean up all of our parks. All the pick tables should be out at all the parks now after being brought in for the winter, so people have space to eat their lunches and just hang out at the parks. Again, they're should be all cut and maintained by the end of this week, as the wet weather was here a couple weeks ago. But for the most part, staff have done a good job to get out there and let the public use them. Some current upcoming projects. I had this on a slide a few months ago. Obviously, the expansion is still ongoing. The youth center, which is still current, and then we're planning on the Mattaway play structure for July. So that will be happening out of Mattaway as well. Create some more buzz and excitement. So I think everybody will be happy once that project's all complete. So it's been a busy time right now at Mattaway with the transition. Staff are busy getting things maintained. Grass is growing pretty fast with the wet weather and the nice weather. So it's good to see, and all our sports fields are very busy and populated. So it's good to see everybody back out enjoying themselves. That's it for the update.
Thank you, Director Wall. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Dick.
Thanks, Chair. Through you. Jordan, Director Wall, I was playing ball in Diamond 2 last night, and there's only 3 lights that are working. Now, in saying that, the 3 lights are great. Like, you can see the diamond, you can play ball. So is it possible that we just leave the 3 lights to save money, or what are your thoughts? Should we replace the lights, fix the lights? Have you played on it yet? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So the lights at Rushlow and Ty are all brand new within the last 2 years. They redone the poles and everything.
Okay.
The issue with the Rushlow is, I guess when the specs came in, the electrician didn't give the right specs for the right wiring. So all 6 lights can't be, or all 5 lights can't be on. So the 2 on the side, they can turn on, but if they do, they won't last. They'll blow the whole fuse.
Yeah.
It happened last year.
Yeah.
As you said, the other lights in the outfield and in the backstop are sufficient. It still is bright enough. Ideally, we want to get those fixed, but the electrician is still in process with Hydro to see what they can do. It's a pretty big thing there. I need to take another hydro pole down there, or more power from the road to that, because right now currently it comes from that ball diamond into the Cowley's Pavilion, which it's the wire and it's too small for sizing. He's trying to figure out some stuff. I know there's been talk, obviously, for power to the event area where the oval is back there, possibly. So I know there's talks, but they've been kind of in discussion. So it's kind of an ongoing battle back and forth with the electrician and Hydro to see what our best plan is, cost efficient, and how we can get all those lights on.
Okay.
For the time being, it's not a safety issue, as you said. It is bright enough for it right now. It just ideally we'd like to have them all on.
Okay, I just wanted to check, because if we could save money, but if it's, I hear what you're saying. Okay, so my next question, if you're okay, Chair, I'd like to ask another question. So last night when I was out there, they're doing some landscaping out by the old BMX park. I saw a big mound. Just curious, what's going on out there?
So behind the BMX, it's kind of like a fill for all the projects that we've started with the roads, Mattaway, obviously now Joffrey and Hager being done by Fulton's.
Got you. Okay.
So before BI was down there, McGrimmons has used it. So it's just a spot to put our fill, and we can use it for future stuff. So right now you'll see BR Fulton using that area to put their fill in there from the road on Joffrey and Hague.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much. So I've had a lot of questions. Now I have that answer.
Yep.
And one more question, if you're okay, Chair, through you. How are those lights coming at McConnell Park?
So I've been in discussion with Corey probably weekly. He tested a few times, so he thinks it's a breaker. He's ordered a breaker for the one pole. So the issue, like I said, last summer, the windstorm knocked 2 of them down.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to get the rest going, but he just thinks he was doing tests, and the one where it's still working, there's no power to it, and he couldn't get it. So he thinks it's to do with the breaker. So the breaker's on order right now. So
okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had much information to update you on that, so I was hoping, but I talked to Corey probably weekly to see where he's at with that. So.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Director Wall, and thank you, Chair.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I got one.
Yes, go ahead.
Jordan,
Yes.
just a quick question. I put a post up on social media about the splash pad, and I texted you, remember?
Yeah.
So somebody made a comment as to what does the temperature at night have anything to do with the splash pad? And I couldn't answer them. I'm just curious.
So the temperature, so it's with our pipes and everything, to be honest with you. And we have a guy that's part of our, I guess so half that splash pad last year is brand new.
Yeah.
So there's a startup process that he's coming in to show the staff as well. But there's
Okay.
also a temperature that, like I said, hasn't been ideal. Rain 2 weeks ago all week. The temperature and everything hasn't been ideal for it.
Yeah, no.
We're hoping this week to get it up and running.
Yeah, no, it was just, everybody, there's comments every time and I just didn't know what to say to them. Perfect. Thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions from anybody? Nope, there are none. All right, we'll move on down to C.3, Mattaway Activity Center expansion monthly update, and I'll hand it back to Director Wall.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just wait for Carolyn to get it up when she's ready.
Sorry, you guys froze. Just
All good.
it's coming. Um, okay. Should be able to see that.
Yeah, we can see it now.
Thanks, Carolyn. All right, just another update on the expansion, how things are going. I got the report a little earlier this time, which I was able to kind of give you a more detailed progress report of how things are going. So there's a little more information in these in this update. So just go over progress, schedule, budget, and project pictures, similar as the last ones, but just a little more detailed for you guys. So we'll start with the site work progress. 95% progress of masonry on ground floor, 95% progress of masonry on second floor, and 95% progress of steel studs on ground floor. 95% progress of drywall on ground floor and second floor. As you can see, things have moved quite rapidly and things are moving along well. Fire stopping is underway for top of block wall and steel penetrations through block wall. Fire suppression system installation is underway on both levels in second story and rink. HVAC ductwork installation is ongoing. The ESA inspections are ongoing until our closing for drywall partitions. Millwork contractor Delray Custom Cabinets is fabricating approved tenant cabinetry. Masonry lateral bracing clips are ongoing. Parapet flashing has commenced. Final sanding and priming has commenced, which is now done actually as of yesterday. 50% of bathrooms have received tile. The LVT flooring installation has started in Area 1, which is a cultural center for the first floor and second floor. Completed work activities. The elevator has been installed. They have power to it, so it's up and running, no issues there. The rink installation, vapor barrier and steel reinforcing, brick facade on cultural center. Also with the rink, they had the slab pour as of yesterday, so the arena slab was poured yesterday. It was quite the process. It started yesterday about 8:30 in the morning, and the finishers were done this morning at 4 a.m. I only stayed until about 12:30 this morning, so it was a long process, but it was good to see and make sure there wasn't any issues or any hiccups going along. So it was a huge milestone in the project for sure. Planned upcoming work activities: refrigeration line install, which is now done. The rink slab pour I just mentioned was done yesterday. Completion of siding on exterior building, siding install of north wall of rink, cultural center siding, storm services and grading, door and hardware installation, continuation of mechanical and electrical rough-ins, and stair 3 and 4 are to be delivered and installed in May. Planned upcoming work activities: continuation of ESA inspections to close walls, fire stopping ongoing, painting priming ongoing starting in Area 1 Cultural Center. Most tenant spaces are all primed and their base colors are done. They're now just doing the accent colors. The admin area, and I think there's one other space that their accent colors and everything's all done. So it's good to see some final touches on the walls done. BBS to mobilize to complete the remaining siding, switchgear and upside temporary transformer, which was done last week. So the transformer was slightly delayed, but Renfrew Hydro had a temporary transformer for us. So now there's full power to the expansion in the areas if they need to turn stuff on, which is good. They had no issues. We had a full power outage last Thursday. R&R Electric and Renfrew Hydro were on site. They started at, I believe, 5 in the morning, and Renfrew or R&R finished at 10 that night. So I moved some rentals to the rec center. Didn't really affect our regular scheduled programs, which was nice, but it's good to have that as well. And the new gas meter, they're actually on site today, so it should be upsized and good for that expansion. Installation of the scoreboards, basketball net, and gymnasium equipment, startup and commissioning of building systems, installation of expansion joists. Monthly schedule overview. The project documentation, supply chain issues, and union strikes have greatly impacted the project schedule and procurement process. So some of the milestone and major deliveries is here. Delivery and installation of remaining rooftop units is scheduled for May. Delivery installation of transformer is now in July, revised from May. Completion of the siding, which will happen in this month in June. Completion of the rink slab, which was yesterday. Startup of refrigeration for tempering rink slab. That'll happen the next couple weeks once the arena pour and the slab cures. Completion of all site services and grading. Supply and installation of tenant and base building millwork finishes. Installation of gymnasium flooring and completion of all gymnasium works, switchgear and upsized temporary transformer, which was completed, and the new gas meter as well. And then on to the schedule. So no schedule change has happened since our last meeting last month. So everything's still for handover for the base building, which is the rec portion, which is the gymnasium, our 3 multi-purpose rooms, the arena, and then the admin are still planned for July 10th. Tenant spaces are intended to be complete by August 1st, and final completion of complete building, including cultural center, is intended for September 7th of this year. So as of right now, which is good, there's still no changes since the last one. I know in the last one there was where they were saying it was going to be end of June. A few weeks delayed on that end, but for the most part, it hasn't changed in the last month since we met last. Subject to the following unknowns: the expansion joint ordering, delivery and install, the overhead door ordering, delivery and install, final flooring decisions. Those have all been completed. Shouldn't be any issues there now. Millwork delivery and install, Expo Award fabrication delivery and install, and the flooring selection as well. Moving on to the budget, just a breakdown of what the budget's at. So there's a slight number on the next page you'll see. It's kind of into our contingency. There's our total end number hasn't changed, but some of the stuff you'll see on the next page for the construction changes from the April 2023 report has gone up 564,000. It just went into our contingency. So again, our end number hasn't changed since November, and now it's just kind of gone out of our contingency. Some of the stuff that stuff has increased, or stuff that came out of nowhere that we had to where it wasn't included. And then the next page is the breakdown of what that 564,000 is included. So we had a MSE settlement. So that's the steel company that did all our steel. We had a settlement with them. It came down drastically of what they originally had. Then we have overhead door, perimeter plate, McGonigal masonry, cultural center hoarding, transfer fan and ductwork additions, heat tracing, youth center washer and dryer addition, daycare hose bib addition, cultural center custom canopy canoe, exterior backing for signage for the MyFM and Ponchar Algonquin First Nation, and McGrimmon Civil Work. So these are some of the increases that happened in the last month that contribute to that 564. Some stuff that kind of came out that we didn't have planned for, and some up charges that the contractor and the architect kind of came back with. So those are some of the increases that we've had. And then the last is just some project pictures of the ongoing projects. You can see there's some flooring that's been installed. And the first 2 pictures are all the piping for the arena that was in. So that was on the weekend, a couple of those pictures. I had pictures from yesterday, but I didn't upload them to the presentation. But I'll put them on there of what the arena slab looks like. So it's all good to go. But the process of them putting the pipes down Simcoe was pretty neat to see, and it was quite the job. So on that, there's rebar, piping, insulation, more rebar, piping, and then steel mesh at the end before the concrete comes down. And then the next slide is some of the paint colors. The first 2 is in the admin offices, and then the third picture is the youth center offices being built as we speak.
Thank you, Director Wall. Any questions from anybody? Councillor Dick?
Thank you, through you, Chair. Jordan, sorry, I keep calling you Jordan. It's Director Wall. Director Wall, that was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Two things. First, I forgot to mention when he was talking about all those recreation programs, I just wanted to mention that we've booked 2 ball tournaments already this year. These 2 tournaments were generally held at another facility, but with our price change, this convener brought those 2 tournaments to Renfrew this year. And I've been really pumping up the other conveners in the area about how amazing Mattaway is going to be in the future. And I'm really trying to sell it. So I just wanted to mention that. The second thing is maybe something just to everybody to think about when, and I'm glad to see Rob, CEO Tremblay just joined us here, or he's been here and I just saw his name pop up. Something to think about when we do an opening for this, like our grand opening to the public, I really think we should do something big. I have no idea what that is. Maybe have a big open house for the full day. Maybe we could run a ball tournament or a volleyball tournament, or we could do something. We could have a free barbecue. We could have bouncy castles. I don't know what's in the budget, guys, but I really think we need to do something huge, elaborate to thank the town of Renfrew for being so patient in this. Have a celebration on this amazing facility that we're going to have moving forward in the future. I don't have all the answers. I just wanted to put it on all our radars and have it on record that we should plan something. I did speak a little bit with Jenna McEwen about it yesterday. She explained her new role and so she may not be able to help from what I understand, but I'm sure we could find someone. I would definitely get involved with that, but I just wanted to get that on record, and I'm sure we have something planned, and maybe CEO Tremblay can find the budget somewhere for us. That's all I got. Thank you.
If I can, Mr. Did
Yeah,
you want?
go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
sorry, I was in, I had 3 other meetings scheduled, but I was able to fit them in while the fire master plan presentation occurred. So it all worked out. So I would just say if we can tentatively circle September 29th on our calendars, we're looking at that as a potential for an opening. Yes, Jenna, the events coordinator, is working at civic and events. So we're going to actually get some assistance with this one, and including we're going to, we should have more details at the next meeting. We're just confirming the schedule will stay as the schedule, and that we pick a date that we don't have to push back, and that we can totally showcase what's going on. And to your point, Councillor Dick, the entirety of the site and making sure that it is a celebration. Time flies, though. We're getting closer and closer. And what we would do is fund that through the contingency, which so far it's acting as it should in terms of things as they come up, but then also kind of the finer celebratory parts of this. So we'll confirm more details at the next meeting, and then we'll pull people in for various aspects of it, because I know it should be a community celebration, a bit of a community festival. So it might be all hands on deck, where we're pulling not just Jordan's team, but across the corporation to make sure that this is a highlight.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Dick. It's great to see that we've already started drawing in some tournaments for the ball field, so that's great. And like I'm telling everybody, we had a rink before, but want to have a facility, very shortly down the road. It's going to offer so much more, and it's great to see as it comes in the final stages. So I'm looking forward to that September 29th grand opening, hopefully. Any other questions? Nope, hearing none. All right, we'll move down to section D, reports. D.1.1. The motion is that Fire, Recreation, and Community Service Committee accept the following monthly report as information. Do I have a mover? Somebody, Councillor Dick, and I'll hand it over to Chief Guest for an update.
Thank you, Chair Legree. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. I apologize for the camera not working. So this report is basically discusses the donation of surplus fire equipment. So in 2022, the Renfrew Fire Department purchased a new half-ton, as everyone is aware. It's a fire service vehicle, and it was spec'd to include all the emergency lighting, communications, and options to be installed and included in the purchase, as outlined in the request for tender. So with the purchase of the new truck, we have a surplus vehicle that will be going to the Development and Environment Department, and will be utilized for basically for them to run to different municipalities to conduct inspections and day-to-day business operations. So because it is being repurposed to that department, they will not require the emergency lighting. The Horton Fire Department has made a request for the town of Renfrew to donate the surplus emergency lights that were on that vehicle. The Renfrew Fire Department does not have a need for the lights, as they did not meet the scope of our project. And the emergency lights are considered surplus and are scheduled to be removed within the next few weeks. Is there any questions regarding this?
I think, Mike, that was the next report. I think this one was the monthly stats.
Yeah, the monthly.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can we go back, Chair Legree, if you could please just read the motion that leads that report, and then we'll circle back, not a big deal.
Read
So
the
if you read the motion for 1-2.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. That the Fire, Recreation and Community Service Committee recommend Renfrew Town Council approve the donation of emergency lighting from a light vehicle to the Horton Fire Department. Do I have a mover? Councillor McDonald, and I'll hand it back over to Chief Guest.
Thank you, Chair Legree. Sorry, so I did jump ahead on the reports. My apologies. So we'll just jump back to that, the donation. Is there any questions on that report?
Does anybody have any questions for Chief Guest or? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay, and then we'll jump back up to D.1.1, the Renfrew Fire Department monthly report. That the Fire, Recreation and Community Services Committee accept the following monthly report as information. Do I have a mover? Councillor Dick, and I'll hand it back over to Chief Guest.
Thank you, Chair Legree. So this report is the monthly fire report for the month of April. And I'll just highlight some of the topics. So we'll just go through the annual comparison from April 2022 to April 2023. Total calls for the month were 11. In comparison to 2022, we had 13 calls. Smoke alarm activations, we had 1. Carbon monoxide activation calls, we had 2 of those. Medical calls and locked door rescue, we had 5. And extrication MBC, we had 3 of those. So in comparison to previous year in the same month, roughly the same amount of calls. The monthly training, so our firefighters continue to refine their skills through training evolutions in the month of May. We focused on April. So we focused on the topic of fire department ladders, such as proper techniques used for carrying, raising, and lowering ladders. The inspection, care, and maintenance. For our ladders, we do have quite a wide range of ladders, as you can imagine, for all different circumstances. We have 14-foot roof ladders, 24-foot, and 36-foot extension ladders. On the fire ground, ladders must be properly placed in a quick and safe manner while still maintaining situational awareness. So there's always lots of hazards to mitigate on emergency scenes, such as overhead power lines, icy and muddy, uneven terrain, and conditions such as building integrity. The fire and wind direction also play a critical role in this. So those conditions always have to be continuously monitored. The second session of our CPR first aid training has also been conducted. It was done on April the 28th. Moving on to fire prevention. So the Fire Prevention Division conducted inspections based on complaints received, as well as fire record searches. Inspections in Greater Madawaska were also completed. The Renfrew Fire Department staff have been busy with our door-to-door smoke alarm program. To date, we have visited over 120 homes to ensure they have working smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. Public education. So in the month of April, the Renfrew Fire Department focused on educating our citizens on safe cooking practices. So just a few quick notes. Cooking fires account for roughly 22% of home fires. Unattended cooking is obviously the main cause of that. Roughly 52% of all the cooking fires are caused from unattended cooking. For the most part, people just get distracted with their busy lives, whether it's watching TV or dealing with young children at home. So we just stress that if you're cooking, to focus on that and not other things. If you have to leave the kitchen at any time, just turn off the stove and take things off the element. So just a few tips for safe cooking in the home. We recommend to always stay in the kitchen, as I just mentioned. If you're sleepy or have consumed alcohol, please don't use the stovetop. Keep anything that burns, any combustibles, any cooking utensils or dishcloths away from the stove. And again, we can stress that everyone should have a fire extinguisher nearby and know how to use it. And finally, notable responses. The Renfrew Fire Department responded to multiple MVC calls within the town of Renfrew. Fortunately, no one appeared to be seriously injured. However, on 2 separate occasions, victims were transported to RVH for assessment. We were very fortunate to have responding crews on scene within minutes of these calls. They can immediately secure and protect the scene, as well as assess any hazards or medical emergencies should EMS require assistance. If there's any questions regarding the report, I'd be happy to answer at this time.
Any questions, Councillor Dick?
Just have a comment, Chair, to Chief Guest. I deal with the fire department on a regular basis with some of my buildings, and I just want to say everything he says in his report is bang on. They're there so quick, they're so professional, they're there to help, they're not arrogant, they're not aggressive towards any of the tenants or myself. They're always in a helpful manner. They're caring, compassionate, and I just, the last year, a couple of years, I've been really working closely with them, and I just wanted to give a thumbs up to Chief Guest and his staff, because I must say they're just professional, and we were so lucky to have them. So I just wanted to get that on record today, and thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Dick. I have a question for you, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, so if you don't know, that's fine. I'm just wondering, there seems to be a lot of pedestrians getting hit with motorized vehicles in the town lately. I think you had a call last week again. Is there a year to date? Is there an increase, or are we seeing an increase in that, or no? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, just in regards to that, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think in the last year, there's definitely been an increase of MVCs versus pedestrians. I think that's pretty safe to assume.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none. All right, thank you, Chief Guest. Oh no, we have one more for you, sorry. Don't go away yet. D.1.3, agreement with Township of Whitewater Region to use the Town of Renfrew's Animal Impound Facility. The motion is that Fire, Recreation and Community Services Committee recommend Renfrew Town Council approve agreement between the Township of Whitewater Region and the Town of Renfrew for use of the Town of Renfrew's Animal Impound Facility. Do I have a mover? Councillor McDonald, and I'll hand it back over to Chief Guest.
Thank you, Chair Legree. So this is an agreement with the Township of Whitewater Region for the use of our town's animal impound facility. So the town does permit the township of Whitewater Region to use the impound facility located at 529 Lisgar Avenue for the purposes of housing dogs. These are animals that are picked up by the township's animal control officers. The township's animal control services are presently provided by MLES, very similar to the town of Renfrew. The terms of this agreement match those in the past undertakings of the same nature. So we do have multiple municipalities that share the same agreement. Pending council endorsement, the town of Renfrew will have agreements for the use of animal impound facilities with Horton, McNabb, Admaston, Bromley, Greater Madawaska, and Whitewater. It's anticipated that the draft agreement will be presented to the respective council of the Township of Whitewater for consideration during the next couple of weeks. So the proposed agreements provide for the following annual fees. 2023, because we are almost halfway through the year, will be $1,000, and you can see that it increases to $1,740 in 2024. So this is keeping consistent with the other agreements with the relevant municipalities. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them for you.
Any questions for Chief Guest? Councillor Dick?
So thank you, Chair. So I was totally unaware that we allow the other municipalities to use our, I guess you could call it the pound. So my concern is, so if another municipality gets a dog, so let's just say Braeside or McNabb or Cobden, correct me if I'm wrong, they capture the dog in Cobden and then they bring that dog to Renfrew and put it in our pound. Then if that happens, how long does the dog stay in the pound? And then if it's not, the dog's not claimed, what happens to the dog or the cat? And then my concern is do these other municipality citizens know that if their dog goes missing, that's where it goes? Because I've never heard of this. So if you could just clarify that, because I'm not feeling comfortable with this at all, because I don't want to see an animal, someone's pet, get killed, and the citizen in Cobden or McNabb Braeside doesn't know that their animal's in Renfrew. So if you could just clarify that a little bit for me, please.
Mike, did you want me to step in?
Sure, thank you, CEO Tremblay.
Sure. Just having been through this is standard across most rural townships. So the dogs in Whitewater used to go to Bonnechere Valley down 41. And that's why they have dog tags. So if a dog has a dog tag, they can easily find the owner and return them. It's for those that don't have a dog tag. And usually if it's a caring owner, they're looking for their dog. So right now the options with Eganville I think closing are essentially Pembroke and Renfrew. There's not a whole lot of impounding, and there has to be a holding facility. So what they would do is through their animal control programs notify residents. But in the case of Whitewater Region, the dogs were being held in Eganville, kind of south of Eganville, nearly Foymount, really. So this is actually a little closer, I believe. But as part of good animal control programs, they would note that, and then the costs get pushed back on the owner, and if they can't retrieve the owner, get pushed back on the township. So that's why the holding, not just the annual fee, but the holding fee. And that's standard. So if you're going to have an animal control program and you pick up a dog, you want to make sure that there's a safe space for them to go. And if they're not claimed, then they work with a variety of different folks and not-for-profit groups that can rehome animals, and even vet care. So it's really, and so I would say this is a common practice in rural Ontario across the province and other places I've worked, but especially here in Renfrew County.
Okay, thank you very much. That explains everything to me, and I appreciate that.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? No, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Moving down to D.2.1, Mattaway expansion third-party review. The motion is that Fire, Recreation and Community Services Committee recommend Renfrew Town Council approve the award of the Mattaway expansion third-party review to WCSC Consultants, Inc. at a cost of $35,600, excluding HST. Do I have a mover? Councillor McDonald, and I'll hand this over to CAO Tremblay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So council, I've included the motion that was unanimously passed by council to undertake this review that really speaks to why. It's really a lessons learned in terms of how we manage these large scope projects. And we know that as a growing municipality, there will be large scope projects on an ongoing basis. I'm recommending that council ratify this selection just because of the nature of this third-party review so that everybody's comfortable with it, although I have delegated authority to do so. I'm recommending this firm because the principal consultant is a chartered professional accountant, so has the finance background, is also a certified construction auditor, which I think is applicable here, is a project management professional, and also a certified fraud examiner. So getting those four things in one consultant in one person is rare. And I think in this case is from Perth. So if we went out to tender, this would delay the process and I think would delay us getting a fulsome review and a fulsome report back. And we would likely pay more. So the likelihood of that is considerable. So we're getting 266 hours with the bulk of those hours, like nearly 50%. Coming from the principal consultant and the secondary consultant. There will be a bunch of work that team's going to be dealing with in terms of document collection and change orders and the document review part of this exercise. But this firm, I know our new procurement policy, so the one that was not in place at the time, but that is now in place, was actually taken from this professional and teaching a course to municipal professionals about proper procurement. So I'm very comfortable with the quality of the work we're going to get, and just in terms of integrity, but also kind of industry standards and where we should be. So the question in terms of our procurement policy does allow for consulting services, especially for this type of review that will involve some confidential elements and to single source. And I think in terms of affordability, but also in terms of the quality of what we're getting in terms of qualifications, I think it's worth single sourcing. What this will lead to is some interviews. So a number of current and former staff, current and former members of council will be interviewed. And there will be a summary report kind of halfway through, and then a fulsome final report will come to council by the end of the year. So this is not something that's going to drag on. We'll get a really deep dive and we can learn from it while it's fresh in our mind, and then we can apply the lessons learned going forward. So if there are any questions on the process or the firm, I'd gladly take them.
Any questions from anybody? Councillor Dick?
I don't have a question, but I'm very happy with everything that's moving forward so far. I think this is very important for the taxpayers of Renfrew. I know it's $35,000, but the citizens have spoken to all of us. I know they want answers. They want to know what happened. And let's get this done. Let's put it to bed, and then let's move on in life and celebrate this awesome expansion that we're going to have out there. But yeah, the citizens of this town want answers, and hopefully this will give them some, and we can move forward. And I'm pretty sure I can speak on behalf of all the council that we all want this, and we're very excited about this. So thank you, CEO Tremblay, for that.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Councillor Dick too. So any other questions? All right, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving down to community services. So D.3.1, jury recommendations. The motion is that the Fire, Recreation, and Community Service Committee recommend Renfrew Town Council, 1, declare intimate partner violence and violence against women an epidemic as a result of the jury recommendations resulting from the inquest into the murders of Carolyn Colton, Anastasia Kuzak, and Natalie Wormdom, and following the resolution made by the county of, and number 2, the jury recommendation number 10 to integrate intimate partner violence into every municipality's community safety and well-being plan be forwarded to the Police Services Board for their consideration. Do I have a mover? Councillor Dick. And I'll hand this over to CAO Tremblay.
I'll pass it over to Director Thompson.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Jury recommendations came down on the inquest with 86 resolutions that they thought would be good and effective. So the discussion was had at the working group, and there are two that we feel can definitely could pass. Those being the declaration of the intimate partner violence and violence against women is the epidemic, and asking the Police Services Board to, or recommending number 10, to integrate intimate partner violence into the municipality's community safety plan. I'm not sure if there's any questions.
Any questions from anybody? Nope, hearing none. Thank you, Kelly. Sorry, all in favor? Carried. Moving down to section E, communications and petitions.
Here.
Oh, sorry, what's that? No, sorry, I thought somebody said something. E.1 is Ontario increasing support for homelessness prevention in Renfrew County. CEO Tremblay, is this just for information, or did you want to speak on this, or just information?
It's just for information, and just in addition to the fun stuff about fire and parks and recreation, this committee is also responsible for the inclusion file, community services under Kelly's leadership, but also this is less about housing, but more about kind of homelessness prevention. So it's just an FYI in terms of some of the funding that's available, and the county leads the charge on this. But as we look to a Renfrew for all income and issues of homelessness, and I think Councillor Dick had a meeting and others have noted that it exists here too. And so this is just a good news in terms of funding that's been announced through the province through to the county that plays a leadership role on homelessness.
Thank you, CEO Tremblay. Okay, moving down to F, section F, committee minutes. That the Recreation, Fire and Protective Services Committee confirmed the minutes of the committee meeting dated April 18th, 2023. Do I have a mover? Councillor Dick. Any questions, concerns on the minutes? No. Okay. Our next upcoming committee meeting is scheduled for the Fire, Recreation, Community Services is scheduled for June 20th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Just before we close off, I just want to thank everybody for their patience with us today. It's been a bit of a nightmare. Our deputy clerk, Carolyn, did a great job getting us all. I made a comment. She was like working with a bunch of kindergartens, I think, but we actually got on. So thank you very much, Carolyn, for your effort in getting us connected here. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 3:23. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again, everybody. I know that was a bit of a challenge.